This was one of the coolest guests I could have had. I had Bam from Wild Chaos Podcast. I didn't know much about Bam. I knew that had the podcast, and I knew that he was a Marine. That's about all I knew. But having organic conversation about life and perspective and businesses and how he started selling worms and fish as a kid up in upstate New York on an island with his brother, some trials and tribulations that he's been through, starting businesses for other people, which led him down this entrepreneurial journey of starting multiple businesses. The homeschooling aspect, I think that is amazing. That was one of the coolest topics that I've talked about in such in depth, and his understanding of what schooling is and how well and intelligent his kids are compared to their peers. Life experience from a very young age. I just absolutely loved everything about the podcast. He started his own bread company that his daughters are running, and they're killing it with it. It was just such a good podcast. I could have talked to him forever. Goes kind of long. It's about a 2-hour podcast, but man, I could have talked to him for 4 hours and not even seem like it was that long of a podcast. Let me know what you think. This was one of the coolest ones that I personally feel that I did, but I guess you guys get to determine that. Let me know what you think.
So you got to ask yourself, why do you want to do this? What keeps you motivated to stay proactive and get bad guys off the street?
The facts is a big cannon against a little tiny gun of opinions, because we've all heard people give us their opinions.
Let's talk about how easy it is to get narcotics in this country.
Once they're in this country, anywhere within 2 days, the drugs will be in our cities.
Because we know knowledge is power.
Well, today on Beyond the Barrel, I have Bam from Wild Chaos Podcast. Super humbled to have him here, and it's a complete honor to have you.
Well, thank you, but I'm not that cool person, man. Trust me. I'm just trying to figure it out like everybody else.
I think your podcast is doing well. Like, it's amazing. That's how I started following you, through your podcast, and then just following you on your private Instagram. Some things that you do is super interesting. You make your own bread, the homeschooling of your kids, like all that stuff is super interesting that I'm interested in, and I'm sure the rest of society is as well.
Yes, yeah, we do a lot of crazy things around here. We definitely live a wild, chaotic life. That is for sure.
Was that where the name came from?
Dude, honestly, the name Wild Chaos used to be I started it as an apparel brand, and I kick myself every day from walking away from it. And so, no, it was just at the time I was living this wild, crazy life in the outdoors and doing crazy shit, like jumping out of helicopters on the pigs and just dumb shit, just this wild, out of control stuff. And so I launched an apparel brand with a buddy at the time, and it ended up taking off and doing really well, but just life took me in a complete different direction right at that time. And so I kind of had to just let it fade away, which I'm very bummed about. And then you fast forward, I think it was like 7 years later, when we started throwing around an idea of a podcast and coming up with names and logos, and you know how it is, everything that goes into it. And I was like, fuck, man, I already own Wild K. Like, why don't I just like refurbish this and just like the backdrop you see behind me is from it was like for trade shows for our booth that selling apparel. So it sat in storage for 5-6 years, and then I was like, I don't give a shit. Let's just rebrand, like just refresh this thing up and bring it back to life. And that's what we did. And so, yeah, I started all over everything with it and just launched it as a podcast.
Do you ever think about bringing the apparel line back with it?
We have apparel that we're slowly bringing back with the podcast, but it's not the same. Like Wild Chaos before was like outdoors, hunting, all that type of shit. So it's a completely different brand now. But yeah, we definitely are launching shirts and hoodies and things that throughout. As we go along, people ask, and we'll launch hats and things like that. So yeah, we're definitely bringing the apparel back, but it'll be a much different look.
Right on, man. Well,
yeah.
Beyond talking about, let's talk about where you started, man. Born and raised.
Ooh, upstate New York on the Canadian border. So I'm in a little village. It's Clayton, New York. It was incredible, man. It's like I said, it's like a little small postcard town, little tourist town. My dad's originally from there. Our family, he grew up on an island, and our family's been on this island for like 150 years. And it's crazy. Like growing up, it's one of the most incredible places you can ever imagine as a kid growing up. You know, my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom, so my dad worked, so he provided everything for us. Very simple family. Grew up with nothing, not a lot of money, but just had it all as a kid, as far as just freedom and adventure. And they provided and they did everything they could for us as kids to be able to give us such an incredible life on very little means. And so yeah, it was pretty awesome growing up there, and it was very outdoors. We hunted, fish, we spear all spring. My brother and I we catch bullhead, like these little catfish. Some people know what they are, and a lot
Yep.
don't. But we had these bullhead, and then the restaurants. My brother and I were known for being the first kids out and catching these bullhead. And when the ice would go out in the springtime, so all the restaurants would be calling my dad, placing orders for fish. And my brother and I would be out there till 2, 3 in the morning, filling 5-gallon buckets, like just bucket after bucket of fish, and skinning them, taking them to the restaurants the next day in Ziploc bags, and just slinging fish as kids. And yeah, so it as far as childhood growing up, I couldn't have asked for like a better childhood, because it was just freedom, got to do whatever we wanted, no curfew. We're up at the creeks in our boats, guns, ice fishing. It was like the ultimate playground as a kid growing up, and especially in the outdoors.
That's awesome. Just you and a brother? Or do you have any other siblings?
I have an older sister. I lost my brother a few years ago to cancer, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
He lost his battle, but yeah, so I got an older sister now, and yeah, I'm the middle child, so.
Growing up, what kind of work did dad do?
He worked construction. So he worked out of town for a while until I got to like the JV football stage, and that's when like I started really excelling at sports. And so he ended up walking from his job and took a job working for the town, like, plowing roads and the maintenance and everything that like the town workers do, everything. And so that way he could be home and watch us play ball every Friday night and go hunting every weekend. And so, yeah, very simple job. I mean, he didn't make much our whole entire life, but it was enough we lived a very simple life. So he definitely made it work with what they had. So
Did you play any other sports besides football?
started basketball for a while because our whole family are just Amazons. Like my sister's 6'1", my brother was 6'6", I'm 6'3", so we come from a tall family. So basketball was life. But then I just got to the point where I was very naturally good at it, but I just didn't care. Then that's when the weight room started getting brought into my life at that point, and like the junior rolling into or the JV era going into varsity. And so I gave up the basketball stuff just so I could start putting on size and working out in the all winter to get ready for football season. And so that's where I really shifted gears. But no, I just was dedicated to football. Should have gone and played college ball a bunch of northeastern schools, but when it got to that point, the war broke out, and I ended up joining the military instead and turned down scholarships. So I ended up just going that route. So I think it
Wow,
was
that's
the
impressive.
best. Yeah, it was the better decision for me. I knew I watched all these guys ahead of me every single year. There was a lot of talented guys in our school for hockey and things like that, and the majority of them ended up right back at home again, and right on the drinking in the same bar stool that their dads were drinking at when they were their age. And I saw the cycle. So when the war broke out, I was like, oh fuck, like that's my out. Like I can get out of here with that. So yeah, I went and signed a dotted line, and off to the Marines I went.
What year was that?
2004, January 2004. Like literally, I wanted one last Christmas with my family. I didn't know, I was young. I didn't know what the hell was going on. The war, 9/11 had already happened. Everything's kicking off. It's so I wanted one last Christmas and New Year's. And right after New Year's, I was gone. January 12th, I was in boot camp. So yeah, off I went.
Anyone else in your family ever been in the military? Wow.
I think my uncle was, but there was such an age gap. I think there was like a 25-year age gap between my dad and my uncle. So I didn't really know him, but I heard he was in the military. So, but I never had a relationship with him. So, but no, I'm the only one.
And then what you were in the Marines, correct? Why'd you pick the
Yes,
Marines
sir.
over everything else?
Man, honestly, I was gonna go Coast Guard. Was my original choice because there's two stations 30 minutes in each direction of our house. I got one on Lake Ontario, then there's one on the St. Lawrence River. And so I was like, and I, talked to the coasties, and they're like, man, if you want to get stationed here, like you'll guarantee to this is like a hardship station because of the winter and it's miserable up there half the year. And they're like, you'll get it. I'm like, oh, dude, I get to join the Coast Guard and I can just chill at home and like this is fucking skate. Like that's what I'm about. And I ended up sending my girlfriend at the time to the recruiter to pick up some paperwork for me. And then it was one of those recruiting stations that has all the station, all the branches in one building. And she came back to my house, was like, "Hey, here's your paperwork." And she's like, "Hey, I talked to the Marine today and I gave him your number." And I was like, "What the fuck did you do that for? Like, I don't want to join the Marine Corps." And the guy called me and talked to me for a few minutes. And he's like, "Listen, man, Coast Guard, bunch of pussies, Army, it's a joke." Like, goes through the whole thing. He's like, "You want to travel the world, shoot machine guns, and do badass shit?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, where do I sign? And so, yeah, that was it. And so, yeah, off I went. So I'm glad I did. I'm so glad I didn't join the Coast Guard or any other branch, having the whole stereotypical Marine shit. I think now that I joined, I was 100% created to be one. So it was, it was destiny, I think.
How many years did you end up doing in the Marines?
I did 8 years. When I joined the Marine Corps, I planned on careering it. I was like, dude, this is gonna be it. This is my out of here. This little, like I was saying, my town is incredible, but it's like a black hole. If you don't get out, you're stuck there. Then you end up laying brick, you're painting houses, like just it's just normal shit. So I knew that was gonna be my out, and I never wanted to go back. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna join the Marine Corps. I'm gonna retire. Da 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 da. Then once I got in the Marine Corps, I did 2 deployments to Iraq, and then I did some really cool shit while I was in. And then the war started winding down. Things were changing, and then I picked up E6. I picked up staff sergeant really quick, so I had a career set. Like I was fast tracked, and then I just one day I went to work and I was like, fuck this, like. I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. There's no way. Everybody's miserable. Everyone hates their life. Like more than half these dudes are divorced. Their kids hate them. I'm like looking at all this shit. I'm like, man, like I'm good. Like I checked every box. There's a couple things I wish I could have accomplished, but other than that, I was happy with my career. Did incredible things. I accomplished a ton, and I was like, I'm good. Like 8 years, 8 years is enough. Like I could ride this out and be perfectly happy with what I've accomplished. And so yeah, I'm glad I did.
When you were on your deployments, what did that consist of for you?
Man, deployments were wild. So I deployed with 2-1 and 2-4. My MOS, my primary MOS was amphibious assault crew chief. So the tanks that go in and out of the water, pretty much what separate us from the Army. So we have a Mark 19, which is a fully automatic grenade launcher, and then the Mod Deuce 50 cal on our vehicles. Those are our heavy machine guns, and so it's a really cool job. But when we got to Iraq, they were like, "Hey, they're a troop transporter, so we could hold up to like 28 troops in the back." But by the time we got there, which was 2005, IEDs were already like such a big thing. And so if one of our vehicles got hit, you're talking 30 troops dead. Like if it was a big enough explosion, which a couple of vehicles got, taken out over time. And so we ended up just parking our vehicles. And so like you got to think like as we're mechanized, so we don't walk. I'm not a grunt. I'm not an 0311. I don't walk anywhere. Like fuck that. Like that's one thing I'm glad that the grunts can have that title of being the infantrymen and walking their asses everywhere. We drove everywhere, so it's the luxury. You got your vehicle, you got power inverters, you could charge shit, you got a roof over your head every night, so it's super nice. But we get to Iraq and they're like, "Hey, park your vehicles," and they name off a couple of us. They're like, "Hey, bam, here's a map, here's your AO, start patrol," and you're on foot. We get to Iraq, we're like, "What the fuck?" Like this isn't how this is supposed to work. Like I'm supposed to see my vehicle. But it was interesting, man. Like our first deployment, I was there when Saddam got hung. And then we were in this town called Heat, which is a lot of people know it as. And it was during the elections, like this was supposed to be like this huge historical moment for Iraq, and we've liberated them, and then we're allowing them to do their first official voting. And it was super strange because we had these like jars of ink, and when they would vote, we'd have to dip their finger in this ink and it stained their finger, so they couldn't vote a second time. And it was really interesting. It was like hearts and minds, but at the same time, like trying to not die. And then we're putting ourselves in really weird situations to where we're helping these people, but nothing's trusted. It's very interesting. We ended up losing Major Mendoza, which was an incredible dude. Um, Absolute just beast of a human being. I think he went to Ohio State, and he was our battalion commander He ended up standing on a tank mine, and that killed him. And so we ended up losing quite a few dudes on that deployment from our battalion. And it was interesting, man. We did Operation Steel Curtain, which was our what the battalion did, which was just literally like just going city to city and just sweeping everything. And we did a lot of more of the outer perimeters. And for us, it was really just kind of
I think it's pretty evident that I'll probably be speaking at the Justice X conference, but I wanted to give my little instructor spiel like everyone else's. And the main reason is because I wanted to come in here and thank all these amazing instructors that are willing to donate their time away from their family, their profession, and their friends to come and make the profession better. I don't know how I became so lucky with the ability to surround myself with amazing people in this profession. I have some of the most amazing friends in this profession. They're the most selfless individuals willing to go out on a whim and put a conference together with me and just to try to make the profession a little bit better. And I don't know how I pulled this off. I don't know what it is, but I'm beyond grateful for them. That being said, when I speak at the conference, communication is the biggest thing to me. I think that communication is the most important tool that we have as cops, and that's not verbal communication. That could be nonverbal communication. I'm going to focus a lot of my instruction on that aspect where communication is universal. It doesn't have to just pertain to interdiction. It's all of law enforcement. If you have the ability to communicate with someone that is a multimillionaire and a guy that's homeless living on the street, your career is going to be a lot more fruitful. And you have this ability to have a lot more empathy when you're communicating and understanding and being actively listening. Someone else came up with this. I love it. So I'm going to throw it out there. As cops, we are often waiting to respond and we're not actively listening, but you can't do them both. So I think as cops, you ask a question, engage and actively watch what their response is. It doesn't have to be this such a strict format of what you're asking, chronological order or anything like that. Let a conversation flow like you're talking to one of your friends. Don't just be so rigid. And that's where I think a lot of us fail. And it's not our fault. Until you know that you're doing it wrong, you'll never know. Like I was very robotic as a cop and I couldn't communicate with people. I know that for a fact. I'm introverted and I go to the police academy and all this other stuff. But anyways, I can't wait to see you in South Carolina in April of 2026 with all these amazing instructors.
just fucking around and just having fun, man. It was interesting. Just, going to these people's house. It's so weird going into people's homes, especially as like a young 19, 20-year-old kid. You're going to these homes, you're searching things, going through all their shit. It's like it's so weird looking back at it now from like now we know like there's never weapons of mass destruction. Like these people aren't all out there to kill us. Like or made all these Muslims are terrorists and every one of them are bad. So it's different being, looking back on it now. And we talk quite a bit with a lot of my buddies, like, fuck, man, like I would have been doing the same shit. Like if our country got invaded, and these people were just going door to door, it would be a much different thing, now. But yeah, it was interesting, man. I love being deployed. It was a lot of like when I say fun, like it's just you and your boys, you're living on a vehicle with 3 or 4 other dudes, like the bonding that happens on it, like you get to know these guys on such a personal level. And yeah, man, it was a lot of fun. And it's like we came back and then we were back for 6 months and we're right back in Iraq again. So I did 2 back-to-back deployments, which sucked. Like that part was miserable. But yeah, it was fun, man. It was interesting times. And being in a war zone is it's interesting. It's you get like lackadaisical in a way or complacent where you almost forget like you're in this foreign country because it just becomes life. Like every day you wake up and you go through your shit and go through your checks and get vehicles ready and weapons ready and you're going on patrols and it just becomes life. And you got to constantly remind yourself like, dude, we're in a country, like these motherfuckers want us dead, and it's when I say it's easy to forget sometimes, like you get in a groove and you run your same routes, you get in your patterns, which you're not supposed to do. And that's how a lot of guys get caught up. So it's constantly just being aware of where you are, and the mindset's very interesting during those times.
Are you on like constant edge the whole time you're there or not so much?
Honestly, man, it gets to the point where you're so bored, like you're looking for shit. Like hey, let's go over here. Let's go see what these guys are about. Let's go fuck this town up. Like, it's just weird things. Like something had happened, everyone goes running toward it because you just get bored after a little bit, or if if things aren't popping off. So yeah, it's just it's interesting. It's just highs and lows, and I think that's where a lot of guys kind of get in that trouble because you get such high adrenaline peaks, and then it just drops and high adrenaline peaks. So then when you come back, you try to chase that, because you miss the adrenaline, but then you'll go weeks with just sitting in a vehicle watching some engineers build a berm around a town. And you just want to blow your brains out because you're bored as fuck. So then you start getting in trouble and going into homes and like looking for things and trying to find food. And yeah, it's interesting, man. Like we found this candy factory and hold on just a second. Get that. We found this candy factory and not a factory, like a candy warehouse. And we're going door to door. We're searching all day, every day, upstairs, downstairs, going in the houses, flipping over mat, just the stupid shit, right? And we go to like this. It almost looked like a mechanic shop. Just a square building, had a big pull open door on it, and then a side door. And so we popped the lock on it, and we go in, and I'm talking floor to ceiling, hundreds of different types of candy. And we're all like, what the fuck is this? So, because we're eating MREs and like T-Rats, which are like the big trays. They just warm up or and it just tastes like shit. So we see like these candies and they got cases of like RC Cola and all this shit. And we didn't know it was like the supply for this whole entire town. So we're in there like stuffing like we're just opening candy and just trying different, taking a bite, and like everyone's sharing shit to see what they like. So we're stuffing our pockets, and my buddy goes, and like I could hear it in his voice, and I turn and look, and there's two Iraqis standing in the door staring at us, like just pillaging this candy supply. And I'm like, oh, hey, like, listen. And we had an interpreter with us, and we start talking, and it was their like warehouse that they had all this candy storage in. And so, long story short, we end up like talking to these dudes, and the guys were like, "Hey, whenever you guys want anything, just let us know so you don't break our locks off anymore, and we'll just give you all the candy." So whenever we would detain people and like arrest people or whatever, we'd always search them. We'd always just take their money off of them. Like we never gave a fuck. Like we'd whatever counted. We'd take our little portion because we were buying stuff. We were living out in town, so we were buying food, supplies. So I always had this wad of cash on me, and so we would just go. And the guy showed us where he lived, and so we didn't tell anybody, none of the other platoons, none of the other teams, nothing. It was like our own little supply because then we would bring everything back to our house that we were living at. And we were slinging candy between all the other dudes. People were like, "Bro, where are you guys getting all this shit?" I'm like, "Oh, my wife's sending it." Like, so we're slinging all this coke and stuff. So yeah, we would just go to this guy's house. I would just pull out a wad of cash. He would just like grab a grip of it, put it in his pocket. He'd walk down, unlock the door. He's like, "Take whatever you want," and we would just go in there. So we had our own little supply. Like it was interesting, man. We were buying sheep. We'd buy sheep that were rolling through a town, and we'd give them to the Iraqi police. They'd go kill it and butcher it up. They'd bring back these giant pots of like lamb stew, and yeah, it was fascinating, bro. We were just living out of out of houses, and like people were cooking for us. Like it was fun, man.
That's
I mean,
interesting.
it was good, man. The food was incredible. We all ended up like getting like not Crohn's. We all got fucked up guts from it. It was just my whole entire team. We're all like dealing with the VA with that now. But yeah, I think it was from all the food we were eating from the local people. But it was life, you know.
That's crazy. Do you feel like there's a lot of camaraderie between the military and your sports career, like football and stuff?
No, not the same. It's just there's camaraderie, like obviously, with sports. I would say like athletes, like professional athletes have a pretty good camaraderie. Because I've had some guys, or at least in the college level, and I got a couple buddies that have played on the pro levels of things. But just when you talk to them and how guys stand up for each other, I think the military is probably one of the hardest things to beat as far as when it comes to camaraderie. Because you got to think, man, like there's guys that like we would sit every single night on watch together, 2 or 3 hours every single night, middle of the night, freezing ass cold on watch. And you just talk and you get to know these guys on such a personal level. It's probably like when you're a cop and you have a partner in your car, like you, you know everything about that dude eventually. And so, but with us, like it's the same shit, but you have this platoon of dudes. And then when you go places, if somebody would like stand up for you or, try to like, start a fight. Then you have like this mob mentality of all these dudes trying to fight for you, and then you just have the whole Marine mindset of just like these knuckle dragger retards that are just looking for a reason to get in a fight and back anybody for anything. So, but the camaraderie it's insane. Like my wife, she always is fascinated by it because there'll be guys that I was deployed with and be like, "Oh, dude, I got a guy that I know that lives in here. Like, we're gonna swing by and see him." And we will pick up on the last foot we stepped off on. And it could be 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. She's like, "I do not understand. You haven't seen this guy in 8 years." I'm like, "Yeah, no, haven't seen him forever." And we've never missed a beat. So it
That's
blows her
awesome.
mind. Like she's like, "I just do not understand. I've never witnessed anything like it in my life that you guys can just pick right off on the last foot you left off on, and you're right back into the groove of things."
Were you married when you were in the Marines?
I was married, yeah, and so that ended up being a nasty ass divorce. But I ended up getting divorced from that, thank God. But yeah, it was. I didn't have any kids. I got lucky on that one. But yeah, I got married young and dumb in the Marines, like just stupid.
Not your current wife.
No, thank God. No, no.
Well, you talked about losing some people. How did you cope with that on an individual level while you were there, and then after you got out of the Marines? Was there still
It was
some
really
coping?
weird, man. It's they weren't I didn't we didn't lose anybody in our platoon, thank God. These were all battalion guys and part of our battalion, which obviously we're all working very tight knit together. But it's always really, it was interesting. Like I can't talk on losing up anybody. I was fortunate enough I didn't lose anybody in my team. But you lose these guys and you know them. Like we lost our sergeant major on our second deployment. We lost our battalion commander, which on our first deployment. So like, and then you're losing your guys like these grunts, and we build such cool relationships with the grunts because we work hand in hand. Like we're transporting these guys, they're living with us, like everything we do we're doing together, so you build these relationships with them. And then all of a sudden one day you're like, "Yo, so and so just got hit and I heard so and so got killed," and you're like, "What the fuck?" Like this is such a weird mindset. You never really get a chance to like process it because you're right back in the groove of things. You're right back on patrol again. You're right back leaving the wire. You're prepping vehicles. You're cleaning weapons. So you never really get like this time to reflect and think about like, holy shit, like you get cool, you got a couple hours, like on to the next. And so it's always really strange. And then when you get back, you start thinking about it. And then you almost like a yearbook, we get like these deployment books, and you start looking through, then you get to the memorial pages, and you're just like, fuck, man. Like then it hits you way different, when you see these guys or when you're all coming back and then they have like these memorials for them, and so it's so strange because you never really get a chance to process while you're deployed. You never get a chance to like grieve or even just like decompress and process the whole situation of like losing guys from your battalion and that you've just spent the last 6 months living with and training with and getting to know these guys. And that so and so had a kid, or they're pregnant and just got married. And so it sucks. It's interesting though, because I think that's where a lot of guys have a hard time processing that throughout the military, than even afterward. And I could see why, but eventually we all signed that dotted line. It was one of those things. That's how I always kind of looked at it. Was we're in war, man. War is hell, and this is what we're here to do. So it's obviously if your number's pulled, it's pulled, and there's not much you can do about it. So
I think going in, and I was never in the military. I have a good friend. He was part of like The Walking Dead or whatever it was, and he never wants to talk about it. But he's also like one of the most level-headed guys, completely coped with it. And then I have other friends that went over there and didn't see near as much of shit as he did. And I think he went into it mentally prepared, knowing like this might happen. And I think maybe some of the other ones that I'm friends with weren't mentally prepared going in. So when they see it, it's like, holy fuck. And it's like a shock. But I think if you're mentally prepared going in, like I might die, he might die, like maybe the coping post everything, it makes it a little bit easier. But if you're not mentally prepared going into that, I think that it could throw you for a whirlwind.
I also think you could only be so mentally prepared, especially if it's like your first deployment. You don't know what the hell you're getting yourself into. And so it's interesting though. Like I think what was different for me and what really helped me transition out of the military and not be your typical veteran, is I always looked at the Marine Corps as a job. It was a 9 to 5 job for me. Like I was not one of these dudes that was like Marine Corps, Marine Corps, Marine Corps, rah, 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 like this is my life and I'm a Marine, that's all I'm ever going to be. And I feel a lot of that happens in the law enforcement community too. A lot of cops, that's their whole, they become their identity as being a law enforcement officer, or being a military or a veteran. And so I never looked at it like that. I was like, dude, I'm going to get in, I'm going to do my job, I'm going to do a career, I'm going to retire from this shit. Like, it was a job. Like, when I was picked up higher rank, like I never wore my uniform home. I wore civilian clothes home every single day. I changed at work. Like I rode motorcycles for majority of my career. So I'd ride to work, change, do my job, and then I'm out. Like I wasn't like talking about it when I was home. I was just like, that was it. Like the Marine Corps was just it would be anything else coming home from an office job. So I think that really helped me not get sucked into that cycle of the victim mentality of being a veteran now and all this other shit that happens with these guys, because I never let the Marine Corps become my identity, which I think a lot of guys do, is just in the military and first responders in general. And then they have such a hard time finding a new life or new identity once they finish it, or even just while they're still in it, because that's all their life is consumed with. And that's what really affects guys. And because I've had a charity for over 12 years now, and that's been our biggest struggle, is trying to show these guys like, hey, you're not just a disabled veteran, like you're a father, you can be a business owner, there's so many other things. Let's start building new identities. Like that's where these guys get trapped. Because I talk to guys who are like, well, I lost my friend 20 years ago. I'm like, 20 fucking years ago, dude. It's been 20 years. How long? Like, I get it, grieve, but there's a time where you have to move on, or you're always going to be this disabled vet, this grumpy, disgruntled, angry man, that you're taking this out on your children now. Your wife hates you, you're on your third or fourth marriage because I'm just disgruntled, mean, I'm angry, I hate the world. That's because that's what your identities become. So for me, it was like, no, it's a job. I left it at work. When I got out of the Marine Corps, half the dudes didn't even know I got out of the Marine Corps. I just I didn't tell anybody. That was it. I was told my gunny, hey, I'm getting out. I did my whole checkout. I didn't tell anybody. And I was poof. People were calling me like, yo, where are you? I haven't seen you. I'm like, I'm fucking out, bro. I didn't do a little ceremony, going away, nothing. Last day, poof, that was it. I just started my whole new life. And so I think that's where a lot of guys that they get in that mindset. It's like, dude, yeah, we all lost people. It sucks, man. Like, it's no different than me losing my brother or anybody
Right.
else losing a loved one. It sucks, man. Losing somebody sucks. But why the fuck are we dwelling on something from 20 years ago, and we have not evolved, we haven't grown, we haven't matured since that point? Because that's all we're fixated on, is just being a cop, being a vet, being a Marine, being an Army soldier. Like, that's what it comes down to. So I didn't struggle with it as much. Like, when I got out of the Marine Corps, man, I went straight to Afghan on a contract. I was contracting at the embassy over there. And, it was just, I went right back to it. But because I just looked at it as a job, it was always just a source of income for me. I got to provide for my family. And so that's what I'm going to do.
What's the name of your charity?
It's Wishes for Warriors. We're actually retiring it this spring. We're in the process of retiring and slowing things down to focus elsewhere on our family. And you kind of mentioned, I don't know if we talked about in the very beginning, but we homeschool and we've started some businesses with our kids, a podcast being one of them. And so yeah, the charity it's been great. It's been incredible. We have a law enforcement program inside of our charity, which is called Project Blue Lion, where we teamed up with some really cool instructors from all over around the country, and provided active duty law enforcement officers free training.
That's
And
awesome.
so it was really cool. We helped thousands, I think thousands of cops went through that program, but we mainly focused on wounded veterans was our bread and butter. That's what when I founded this organization, I wanted to help out the men and women that needed the help the most. And so we've done so much over the last decade, 12 years now. And yeah, it's an incredible run. But the wife and I, we got to a point, man, where it was just the community has changed a lot in on the veteran side of things. When we first started it, like, I was going to hospitals, I was pulling dudes out of their basements and just out of some really dark times. And then since COVID, things have really changed in the veteran community, and now it almost feels like we're just enabling these guys. Because, like I was saying, like, I'm taking guys out on trips last year, and they're talking about stuff that it happened fucking yesterday. And so I'm like, man, if we're 20 something years into this and we're still at this stage where it sounds like you just went through this, like, what we're providing for it isn't helping these guys. And that's what was kind of like a wake up for me. I'm like, okay, like, maybe it's time. We've helped out and we have saved hundreds of lives. We've changed thousands of lives. So I'm like, we had a great run. So let's take all this energy that we're doing and let's put it into our family as our kids are getting older now, and let's really help them get, prepared for life as they, I got an 18-year-old here soon. She could be 18 this spring, and I want to be able to show her how to grow a business and how to just thrive and do everything she's doing, especially for the podcast. And so, yeah, we're shifting gears, and we've helped out a lot. We've done a lot over the last decade, and yeah, it's time for us to really focus on us as a family and just put that energy into what we want to do. And so, yeah, it was a hard decision, but at the same time, we feel it's the perfect time. As the guys that are all blown up, sutures and bleeding and wounds and all that shit, they're all healed now, and so it's like
Right.
now it's just mental that they're battling. And if I can't help, I can't help you on the mental side. If it's, if it's that bad still, I don't know how to provide for that. So yeah, I was like, there's a lot of incredible organizations out there that are the tip of the spear. Hey, we're going to pass everything on to another charity that we work with. I'm going to help them out. And yeah, but it's just going to free up a lot of time for us.
That's amazing. I mean, I feel like there's some like I don't know, like resentment, not even resentment, like almost like guilt in your voice with it, because you're giving up on something that you donated. But I think that anyone that gave away 12 years of free stuff, you should be very proud of that. And I don't
Yeah.
think that you should have that guilt at all. Like, I don't know if you have that, but I was kind of getting that vibe where you were like trying to like almost justify like why you have to give it up. But I think anyone in their right mind would look at it and be like, dude, you gave 12 years. Like, that's more than
Yeah.
enough.
And nobody says like, why, okay, I started this organization. Our goal was to help out 5 guys a year. That when I first saw this, I was like, man, I want to help 5 wounded vets a year. And then it was like, holy shit, our first year we helped 20, and then it was like we helped 200, then we helped 500. Then it's into the thousands. We're like, holy fuck! Like, so it just evolved and grew into this thing that we never expected it to be or wanted it to be. But we were changing lives. We're saving, dude. I mean, I don't know how many vets like literally pulling guns out of their mouths and just dark, dark times. But we don't see that anymore. A lot of it's evolved, and a lot of guys have healed, and a lot of the vets in the early stages of our organization ended up becoming reps for us, and then now they were providing and giving back. And so, it was a hell of a run, man. And it's like, yeah, I try to justify it away, but I don't know, that a big thing for me was like, why does this have to go forever? Why, like, why do I have? And then we thought about passing it on and giving it on to the guys, but then I was like, man, it's been 12 years of my wife and I running this out of our house, being a nonprofit, donating everything that we've ever gotten for this. And then like my biggest fear was giving it over to a group of guys that I don't know, and then they run it into the ground. I'm like, well, fuck, man, like. It was a good
Yeah.
run. So I was like, you know what? Like, why does it have to continue? Why do we have to pass the torch? And I was like, why don't we just retire it? Like, it was a great run. It was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to get back to the community. I had incredible support and help along the way. It was a great chapter. So yeah, it's time for us to close that chapter and start a new one.
When you got out of the military, what was your initial like job, or what was your initial goal with any of this? Like, were you trying to be an entrepreneur? Were you trying to start these things, or was it?
I didn't know I had like the entrepreneur mindset, like everybody's an entrepreneur now. But the whole entire time I was in the military, I was like, guys are fucking retards. Like, I can't work for this. Like, guys, I always thought it was so stupid. Like, just the decisions that were made. I'm like, why can't we do it this way? This way would be so much better. Like, oh, dude, if we take all this candy, I could sling it in his houses. We're gonna go by the grunt's house. I'm gonna sell this. Like, I'm making money. But there was no like entrepreneur mindset back in the 2000s. Like it is now. Everybody's an entrepreneur online. And so when I got out, I didn't know what I was gonna do. Like my aha moment, like I came home one day. I just turned it. I actually was re-enlisting to stay in, and then the light bulb went off, and so I had this aha moment. I came home and I told my wife now. We were just dating at the time. I was like, "Hey, I'm getting out." She's like, "What do you mean?" Because I was going to go MARSOC. I wanted to go Special Forces. I had my package got accepted. I had my date and everything ready to go. And then I ended up getting selected to pin on for E6. And they came out with a Marine Corps order saying they weren't taking, I believe it was sergeants and above at the time. So they pulled my package. And that was that was what I was doing to get out of my MOS. I was going to go MARSOC, fucking cool. I'm going to career. I'm going to be Riki Recon, cool shit. Like I'm in. This is gonna be it. And then they were like, hey, they're not accepting any E5s and above. And I was selected for E6, and I'm like, fuck? So that was like, okay. And then at that time, I was stationed on Pendleton in Cali, and all the staff NCOs were all getting orders to Lejeune. And I was like, oh, fuck that. I am not getting stationed in Lejeune. Like, no, no way. So yeah, I came home and I told my girlfriend at the time, wife now, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna get out. And she's like, what are you gonna do? And I was like, I literally told her, I was like, I'll flip burgers at In-N-Out if I have to. Like, I'm not staying any longer. So I got out and I went straight to Afghan on a contract. So I worked at the embassy over there. I did executive security at the embassy in Kabul. I did that for a while. And I'm getting fired. It's the only job I've ever been fired from. And
How did you get fired?
I got in a fist fight with my boss, like my
Okay, that
supervisor,
worked.
and I beat the dog piss out of this dude, and I got fired. And so I came back. This is a wild ass story. I came back, and to get on a contract, you got to go through your security clearances again. So I'm already applying for new contracts. I'm gonna go back to Afghan, like no big deal. And but some of they could take a while. It's like it's a process to go through the vetting process to get into going on a contract because you got to get your visas and you're working in foreign countries and there's it's an ordeal. So I go to this job expo just to see if I could run like I just needed a job. I didn't know how long I was gonna need one, but my buddy's like, dude, there's a job expo in Pendleton. Like I look like I'm a homeless Afghani. I got long hair. I do just rag. I look like shit. So I go to this job expo and I'm walking around and I see this Army Ranger dude standing at this table and he's got a little construction sign. I was like, hey, like I know how to run some heavy equipment. Like I just need a job for a few months. And I give him my resume and he's like, what the fuck you want to work for me for? I was like, I just need to provide for my family, man. Like, I just need a job. He's like, hey, I'll pay you what you were making in Afghan to start an executive security company for me. I was like, done. Sure as shit, man. I ended up starting this executive security company for this guy guarding turtles, desert tortoises. He, not even making this shit up, bro. So I ended up starting this environmental security company guarding fucking prehistoric shrimp, desert tortoises, a finch, some red-legged lizard toad shit. Like it was insane, dude. Insane. I was supposed to have like 18 employees. Within 3 months, I had like 100 employees. Within a couple months later, like my max on this one project, I had 155 employees. It was fucking wild. I was hiring all these National Guard guys, all this crazy stuff. It was wild. And so that's kind of like what started. I'm like, dude, I grew this company from an email to a $9 million security company in a year just by like like, hey, well, I'll do it. I'll do it. Just every time someone's would come up, like, hey, let me hire guys for that. I'll put vets to work. I'll put vets to work. And the project managers were like, fuck, bam, take it. Because I could either hire these unemployed National Guard vets or we're hiring these union dudes that are making a couple $100 an hour, or I could pay some National Guard guy $50 an hour and he's shitting his pants, unemployed, and went from nothing to $50 an hour plus double overtime. I mean, these dudes are clearing $2,500 a week. Like, just it was insane. And so, but every time I'm able to bill the company for this, like the project. So every time they'd be like, we got a finch that's building a nest and we can't be driving. I'd be like, I'll put vets on it. I'll do it. I got guys. And they're like, yo, do it, do it, do it. So every time I'd sit in these project manager meetings, they would need people to sit in certain areas or be road guards or drive ATVs to escort water trucks so they didn't run over the desert tortoise. It's endangered. And so I would just volunteer. And yeah, and I ended up having 155 employees within a year. And it just grew this massive company. And I ran that for years. And then during that times when I started my charity and yeah, it just kind of snowballed and just one thing led to another, man. It's been a roller coaster ever since.
Man, that's crazy. That's insane. How that, yeah. Obviously, I mean, you kind of had it your whole everything you're talking about, even like taking candy, selling candy, buying candy, selling it for so like it's always been there. It just I guess
Even
maybe
as a
just,
kid,
oh really?
I mean, it
Oh,
would
the fish.
rain and
Yeah, the fish.
we were selling the fish, and it would rain really hard in the spring, and we'd go down to the school lots and we'd collect night crawlers all night. We'd fill coffee cans, like Folgers coffee cans of night crawlers, and then we're slinging 25 packs for a couple of bucks. And so, like, yeah, I mean, I'd never even really thought about it until now, but yeah, I've always been kind of hustling on the side, and then. And even in the military, is finding a way, and then getting out and building a company, and then building a charity, and then it's just kind of snowballed, and it's just life has been wild ever since. And here I am. I got a podcast and a fucking bakery now.
That's what we're gonna touch on now. So, at any point in the military, were you married with kids?
No, just married. Thank God I didn't have kids with her. But then when I met my wife, was right toward the end, and then we had our oldest, and so yeah. But I wasn't deployed. I didn't deal with any of that shit. I had a really skate job right at the end as an instructor, so it wasn't like I was gone a lot or anything like that.
Meet your wife, have kids, and then at that point, like the entrepreneur spirit, is that within your wife too, or is that something?
Yeah. Do you actually want to hear a funny story? Actually, since you're a cop, you'll get a kick out of this. I met my wife running from the cops.
Perfect.
Yeah, funniest, like nobody believes it. Hilarious that story, but yeah, I was actually running from the cops and I pull up to a light and I got stuck at this intersection. I look over, I see this hot chick sitting in like this little Scion TC car, and I rolled my window down, spit game to her real quick. She gave her number and I dipped, and yeah, then been together ever since. But
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, she's we've actually, it's funny because when I met my wife and I started this security company, I was working in the desert, so I would be out of service for, a whole day. I mean, it would take us 12 hours to drive from one end of the project to the other. We're in the mountains, we're in the desert. I mean, it was insane. It was a 150-mile project on that one. So she was working, she was like some assistant at some she was building websites and helping like Google Analytics and all that shit. Well, she would like hit me up like, "Hey, these people are trying to get a hold of you." I'm like, "Can you just respond to them real quick?" And she's like, "I don't know, Tim." I'm like, "Well, fucking figure it out. Just respond and buy me some time." So that's kind of what started it. And so then she just started to learn to talk like me. And so now she's like doing deals. She's getting us more work, and all these people are thinking she's talking to me, but I'm running a project. So then I finally convinced my boss. I'm like, "Hey, she's doing all of this while I'm in the field. I'm running 155 employees by myself. Like, I need help." So I was able to actually hire my wife, and so we've been together. We've actually worked together longer than we have without working together, if that makes any
Oh wow.
sense. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, we've always, from that day, from that security company until now. I mean, we've built every business together, and so yeah, she's in the super entrepreneur mindset as well. Like when I say entrepreneur, we're not like, "Hey, what's the next business?"
No,
Like
no, yeah, I
we're
know.
gonna be. It's just we hate working for people, and so it's like that's my only other. If I gotta, that's my only option. I'm not taking that. So it's I got to be able to figure it out. And yeah, we've just we've always just hustled and built businesses, and if they're successful, cool. If they're not, we've failed a lot of times at it, and yeah, so she's been my ride or die when it comes to business. She's like the brains behind it. I'm like the visionary, she's the executor, which is great. So I'm like, "Hey, I need this website. It's got to look like this. I want this. I want these drop downs." And she's like, "Okay." And then she just starts plugging away, and I'm like, "Perfect," And so
That's
we're a pretty good partnership together when it comes to working together and raising kids. I'm very fortunate with her. I'm very blessed.
with the bakery. Where's that come from?
Dude, well, like I said earlier, I got tore up guts from being overseas, so I'm always eating shit, and like, so my wife just got fed up with it, and she's like, You're done eating," because every time I eat breads and stuff, I get horrible gut issues. She's like, "Listen, we're gonna try sourdough. Let's try it. Like, let's start making it." And so she started it and she failed at it a bunch of times and then she quit. And I bought her all of like these Dutch ovens and all the stupid fucking tools and all this stuff that goes with it. And she quits on. I'm like, "Dude, I just dropped like $600 on like sourdough starting shit." It was like during COVID, everybody's all like the trendy thing to do. I'm like, "Fuck this." I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna figure it out. I want my own bread. I'm gonna figure this out." So I find this chick on YouTube and I'm just studying her. I'm like step by step and I'm dissecting everything she's saying. And I make a loaf of bread. It was the greatest bread we've ever had. And my wife's like, "Okay, I'm back in. Like, I want to make more of this." And I'm like, "Oh, forget you. Like, this is my thing. Like, I made it." And so we start making these breads, and then we start just adding crazy things to the flavor, crazy flavors to them. We're like, "What about this? I bet you this would be good. Well, this and this go together. Let's throw it in a loaf of bread." So then I'd have like these buddies that they got their own like plumbing companies or utility companies. Well, they're driving by. I live on a main road, so they're always coming by. I text them like, "Yo, I got a new fucking fresh loaf of bread. Like, where are you at?" I'm like, "I'm rolling through in like 5 minutes." I'm like, "Come by and get a slice." So then like my buddies are swinging by in the morning. They're all their wives do sourdough, and they're like, "Dude, this is better than anything my wife's ever made. Like, holy shit, like this is the best bread." So then we're giving it to neighbors. We're giving out. Everybody's like, I got three neighbors like, "We're bread connoisseurs," and we give them the bread, and they're like, "Holy shit, we've never had bread like this before. Never had sourdough like this." And so one of the businesses that I was in for a long time and just recently walked away from is branding and marketing, helping other companies grow and market. And so that's like the wife and I is kind of like we're little, we got that in our back pocket. And she's like, I'm turning this into a business and we're gonna do this with the kids. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a great idea. Like we get to teach our kids entrepreneurship, they get to grow this business, and we're gonna sling some bread on the side, like wherever it goes, it goes. Like it's cool. And so we're talking, and then come up with the name of the sour bee because my kids call it, because I have beehives, and so we put our honey in all of our bread, our own honey, our own local honey goes. It's only the preservative that we use in our bread, and so they call me the sour bee because I'm just this grumpy, asshole. And so my youngest daughter gets online and like gets on this AI program shit, and she comes up with this grumpy looking bee, and we're all dying laughing as a family, like holy shit, that's hilarious. We're like, that's the logo. So we just put this little business together, and we're like, cool, like we're going to teach the girls business. They get to learn customer service and sales and running a booth and, getting the ingredients and supplies and all this shit. There's so much that go into even just a little bakery. And so we ran it for the first year, and we're like, oh, cool, this is fun. And like, we made a little bit of money and the girls got to learn some stuff, but it won't die. Like people keep placing orders. And then all these people are now placing orders, and they're like, dude, this is the greatest bread. Like, how do I get this on subscription? Like, holy shit, my wife's done bread for 15 years and this shit's on her bread. And we're now ordering your bread. And I got a big celebrity, actually. He's got like 32 million followers on Instagram. He's the only only carbs he eats is our bread. And like, so these people
Wow.
are finding us. We're like, what the fuck? Like, this is strange. And then I got people reaching out like, hey, how do I get involved in this? We're like, what the fuck? Like, no, we're good. And so we're like, okay, maybe this is something. I'm like, all right, this is taking a lot of work. Like, this takes up a lot of time. We're baking 3 loaves at a time in our regular oven. So the whole reason we wanted to start this for our girls and the entrepreneurship, and then we wanted to raise some money to get just like to buy new appliances. Like, hey, let's just sell enough bread. We'll get a new oven. We'll get a new washer and dryer, a new fridge, whatever. It was just like our little fun money to like, because you know how wives are, bro. They're always wanting like upgrade shit and spend money on dumb stuff. And I'm like, all right, bread money could go toward anything dumb you want to get. And dude, we end up like fucking bought an oven like right away. We're like, okay, this is cool. So it evolves. We go into like year 2 with it. And I'm like, listen, we got to shit or get off the pot. Let's start hammering down with this and get serious with it, or let's just shut it down. This is taking up a lot of time. So yeah, we ended up buying an industrial bread oven, like a kitchen grade bread oven. We could do like 16 loaves at a time. We got like a 30-quart mixer now. We're doing this out of our kitchen. Like, so it's turned into this where we're doing like 100 loaves a week, and we drop new flavors every couple of weeks, and it's turned into something really cool. And so now it's like, dude, I got my 11-year-old can run a whole entire booth at a farmer's market for 3 days by herself, slinging bread. And so it's like, so she's able to learn everything. And so what we thought with them was like, they work for a commission. So and we tell them like, listen, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. We're not forcing any of you to do this, but like, this is lucrative for you kids. Like, I wasn't making this fucking money at 11 years old. And so, and like, our oldest is involved with it. And yeah, so they go, and so they each get their own little square card reader at the shows and the little farmers markets, and they just sit there and they hustle. It's like, I'm like, if you want to go walk around and screw off all day, hey, I don't care. Go ahead. Like, Sissy's gonna sell all the bread and she's getting all the commission. So now they're like super competitive, and so like, want to try sample? Want to try sample? So they're sitting there just slinging bread, and we're the first one sold out at almost every show. We have regulars that come every single show. And so yeah, it's growing into like to something really cool that our kids are able to see and learn so much incredible values and lessons, because they're not in school, we homeschool our kids, and which is a huge part of it. It's like, man, if you're going to be home, and we pulled our kids from the system to teach them life, and I even hate the word homeschooling, we call it life schooling here, because we're teaching them everything life. And it's like, and I tell them like, listen, I know as a 17-year-old teenager girl, you're into like fashion and everything you're into. I know selling bread probably isn't the coolest thing on the planet for you. Just learn the skills and take everything that you can learn until you want to go do your own thing, and then you can apply everything you have learned in running this business. But she loves it. I mean, she's like, no, I'm good, because she's making good money with it. And so it's been incredible, man, to be able to teach our kids so many life lessons just from selling bread. And it's been insane. Like, we did not expect the response and the support to be so like overwhelming of what it is, and these people are just they're. I mean, we make a really good quality bread and a sourdough, and then the flavors and everything that we put into it, and so yeah, it's been going really well, man. And the kids have learned so much. I mean, I've even learned so much from doing this, and it's been a lot of fun.
Can you ship it all over the country, or are you more
Yeah, we ship
localized?
nationwide. Yeah.
Oh,
It sucks because it's not as fresh, obviously, but yeah, we don't use any preservatives, so that's the only downfall of shipping is the shipping's so expensive because everything's got to go really quick because we don't use preservatives. I mean, you're talking salt, flour, water, and then whatever inclusions, which would be any herbs and cheeses and whatever else we're putting into them. And so, but yeah, like we do some really cool flavors. Like we do like a supreme pizza one where we do, so like in the summertime, it's all of our own because I'm a huge gardener. So it's like all of our own bell peppers, jalapenos, onions. We do a really good like Italian spicy sausage that we saute it up and like get it really crispy. And then we roll all of that with like a marinara sauce into the dough. So you have like a full loaf, a sourdough loaf that is just like a supreme pizza. We do some really crazy flavors. It's a lot of fun. We do a lot of seasonal flavors, and the kids get to test them out. And like we're coming out with new ideas, and we make these crazy flavors, and we'll try them. Some of them are god awful, some of them are amazing. And yeah, so we'll test them out, and we'll throw them on the website, and people love it.
what's the website?
Sourbeegarden.com. So yeah, it's pretty cool, man. It started out as like a little homeschool project and it's growing into like an actual like it's a fun. We're looking at getting a storefront. Like we've already outgrown our
Oh,
kitchen and our house, and so we're looking at getting a little storefront to move everything into and start slinging bread out of.
is that where the schooling comes into play, or why did you guys choose homeschooling?
Homeschooling was never an option for us. Ever. We had no problem with our kids going to school every day. I was working, I'm out of town a lot. And then COVID kicked off and they started playing some games with the kids here. Like they were able to go to school, they weren't masked, no mask. And I'm one of those people, man, like you can, if you want to get the booster shot and all the shots for your kids and shit, fuck, that's on you. You want to put your kid in a mask for 8, 9, 10 hours a day, that's on you. I don't give a shit. But I also want the freedom to be able to not have to do that for my children. Nobody's going to tell me what my kids can or can't do when it comes to that type of stuff. And so that was bothering us. And then my wife, she's very, very in tune with our children. And so she's like, hey, our youngest is I want you to watch her eating habits. It's just something's off. And so she'd come home from school and she's just stuffing food. She's eating like super fast and then she's crashing. And so we started watching our youngest develop these weird eating habits. And so we snipped it immediately. And we're like, hey, like what's going on? And so come to find out, like the only social interaction and like conversations that they were allowing these kids to have was during lunch. So these kids would just, they either weren't eating, they were just blowing through the line so they can go outside and hang out with their friends, or they would like take a couple bites. So she wasn't even eating. And so we're like, and then that's when the wife's like, I'm done. Well, I'm not playing these games. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. Like, let me know what you want to do. And then I came home the next day and she sat me down. She's like, her exact words were, you're either with me or you're against me on this. I'm pulling our kids out of school. And I was like, fuck. I'm like, are you sure? Like homeschool? Like, dude, I'm an idiot. And I'm like, she's very intelligent, but I'm like, you got a blowing up real estate career right now. We got everything else that's going on. Like, what? You sure we have to do this right now? Like, I finally got a sugar mama. She's making more money than me. I'm stoked. Like, I could just, like, I'm just cruising. Like, life is good. And I'm like, what? And she's like, I'm going to have to step back from real estate. We got to change our whole lifestyle up. I'm like, all right, fuck it. Let's do it. So, yeah, we pulled our kids. And it was the greatest thing we've ever done, man. It was I regret ever putting our kids in public school, to be honest with you. Like knowing what we know now, knowing and learning everything that we have learned from being out of the system and looking from the outside into the public school system and how everything functions, how it's run, how it's built, the kids inside of it. Dude, and we give our kids the options every year. We're like, hey, if you guys want to go back, you can go back. And they don't even nope, we're good. We're good. And so it was the best decision we have ever made, was pulling our kids out of public school and homeschooling them. And dude, the level that you get to learn this is my biggest thing when it comes to homeschooling. The level that you get to learn and to be able to see your children on versus them going to school every day doesn't even compare. Like my kids are home almost 24/7 with us. Like obviously I got a teenager now, so she's spreading her wings. She's all over the place. And um, but like we just got back, we said screw Christmas this year. We're not doing gifts. Let's just go on a trip instead. Put all the money and everything we saved up and we did a trip instead. But like the fact that I can live in like a little Airbnb, like a 1 bedroom where there's a futon to my kids and I'm not getting irritated with them. Like I enjoy being around my children. Like the joy that they bring to our home and the fact of how you get to learn how your kids function on such a different level, because you got to think about it. I heard this. They did this study, and I was listening to it, where they took a group of dads and they sat these dads down, and they're like, "How much time do you spend with your children every day?" And these dads, "Oh, I spend an hour. I spend 2 hours. Oh, I spend a couple hours with my kids every single day." And then they actually studied these dads, and it came down to, and I want to say it was like 13 minutes of
Jesus.
uninterrupted attention that they were giving their kids. And that was when they'd get home from school. So you're talking less than 30 minutes a day that you're spending with your children. And if you're like, no, there's no way. But if you truly think about it, you're working, you're scrolling, you're fucking off, you're going to
TV.
the gym, you're watching your football game, you're in your man cave. Yeah, you're home, but are you present to your children? And so with me, it's like, dude, I wake up every morning, my kids are right there. We're helping them get their day started. I'm working all day with my daughter in the podcast studio. Like we're making bread together. So it's like, and then you get to see how your kids function, how their minds really work, and how they start processing things. And then once you start learning how your kids learn, how they're able to take in and process everything, then you're like, oh, okay, our youngest is step by step. I want you to do this, and then once you finish this, this is your next project. Then you're going to do this. Then you're going to do this. Our oldest is like, hey, here's your task for the day. Get it done. So then instead of your kids sitting in a classroom with 20, 30, 40 other kids that are all learning different styles, different paces, different speeds, whatever it may be. Now it's like, oh, our kid learns like this. And then it's like being at the range and you're dialing your scope and just, and you're trying to get that zero, and then you got your little turkey shoot and you're all over the place. And then once you get dialed in, you're punching center holes every single time. That's what it is for teaching your kids at homeschool. Once you learn, okay, we're all okay. This is how she really was receptive to this. Oh, she might actually sit here and give her a little whiteboard to draw on, and now she's doing the problems on her lap on a whiteboard, and now she's processing it all and retaining it all. It's just all by giving her that. And it's like, oh, if that's what it takes, cool. Hey, here's a marker, get on the board, write this down. And then that's how you learn. And it's like, okay, cool. Hey, read this. And so you're able to process your kids and really fine tune how they learn and how they're able to retain knowledge. And then you pinpoint that. Then you could just feed them by fire hose, man. And then you just watch them just start blowing by their peers when it comes to just basic shit, man. And then not to mention the just being around the people. We take our kids everywhere. And I tell everybody, because I get a lot of homeschool parents or like people that are interested in homeschooling. They're like, how do you socialize your kids? It's like, how is your kid even socializing at school? They can't do anything except for in between periods or at lunch. They're sitting at a table all day or a desk all day. They got to raise their hand to ask a question. They got to raise their hand to go to the bathroom. Like, where is your kid socializing? On the school bus to and from school? Like, that's their socialization. So, and then at the same time, I don't personally want my kids, now that we've been out of the system where we watch public school kids, I don't want my child socializing with 40, 50, 60, 100 other kids their age, because now all of those kids are bringing their problems to school. They're bringing what they're learning to school, what they're able to search on their phones to school, what their older brothers and sisters are watching and showing them. Now you're just bringing all that in. Oh, that's better. Like that's the socialization that you want to give your children, because now I get to control the environment. Hey, these are what you're able to watch. This is the lessons. These are what I want you reading all day long. And then you take your kids everywhere with you. We take our kids everywhere. And that was a big reason of starting a business with them. I've gone to business meetings with CEOs and I've sat in these multi-hundred-million-billion-dollar companies. I brought my kids. They sat right there and they listened. Sit there, shut the fuck up and listen. You're going to learn how this conversation goes. And they've evolved. And now it's like they'll sit right at the table with a CEO of a company, and the CEO can ask them a question. They'll answer it straight to this guy. And this guy's worth $100 million. And it's
That's
like,
awesome.
I would rather my kids socializing with adults and having adult conversations, because that's the real world. Like, if I can be in an event and I look over and there's 4 or 5 adults sitting at a table, and then I got my little 9, 10-year-old at the time having all of these adults laughing their asses off, having a full conversation with them. Like, that's socializing. They don't need to be at school learning 6, 7 and whatever else the fucking trends are going on these days. Like, my kids don't know any of that shit. Like, I asked them and they're like, Dad, I don't know. Like, I don't hear any of that. So it is such an incredible thing. I wish every single parent had the ability to homeschool, because it is life changing. It sucks at first. You got to you got to learn a whole new rhythm, routines. Your life is flipped upside down. You got to we personally, because people are like, oh, it must be nice, you just be able to do this. We made major sacrifices. Like, that's why we started this business, why like we're pushing this podcast, because we want the ability to be able to have our kids home, raise our children. My wife walked away from a very successful real estate career. I had a big marketing company. It's like, took all my time away. Hey, not worth it anymore. We took a huge step back. We took a giant cut, started life all over again, and that's where we're at right now. And it's been, I would do it 1,000 times over, but sooner, knowing what I know now.
That's amazing. You're the second person I've had on that homeschools their kids, and they didn't go into such great detail, but the socialization, that came up in that conversation too, and that's like what people always push on them, like, hey, the socialization, like, and what they've done is their kids are super athletic and they're all in sports, so they're like, well, they still get to see peers. It's just they get to learn at their own pace. They get to, and that was their biggest thing. They're able to teach them what they want to teach them, and their kids are very intelligent, very accelerated. So like, they were being held back in school, like, like, oh no, you
for
can
sure.
only listen or learn this fast or this, and they're like, we already know this shit. So then they were getting bored and they weren't being attentive, and as soon as they came home, it was like their mind just exploded, and they're outpacing all of their other peers in the same grades or age brackets.
I'm very confident, and I say this, like, I would put my 11-year-old against any one of her kids in her age bracket, or at least 2 years above.
That's
Her
amazing.
maturity level, her communication skills, everything that and how she processes, how she's a free thinker. That's one of the major things, is your kids become free thinkers and critical thinkers, like processing situations instead of, well, I think in 1776 and I want to, they're not fucking dealing with that shit. It's, hey,
Right.
here's a problem. How do we, hey, this customer wants this by this time. What's this going to take? And then they have to start processing these things. If you pull your kids and you have the mindset that every single thing you do all day long is a lesson for them, grocery shopping. The wife takes the girls to the grocery store. Hey, just because this is on sale, this is the best. Is this the best value? You get this many ounces for this price with this. Compare groceries. Like, everything is learning. Okay, hey, this is how much it is. How much change? You're sitting at dinner. Hey, I want 20. We're gonna tip 20%. What's 20% of $150? Break this down. Write it out on the math. Like, that's what it takes to raise incredible children, is being just there, being intent and deliverable with your everyday life with them, is just, hey, we're going to learn something. This is what it's going to be. And yeah, sports are incredible for kids. Like, our kids they fought in competitive taekwondo, man. They're world champions. And I'm not a fucking martial artist. Like, I fought for the Marine Corps, but I'm not like some taekwondo dude. And we trained them. We trained out of our house, and they ended up getting world titles. And they traveled. They had friends in all these different states. And so, yeah, the people that are, oh, homeschool kids are weird because they're not socialized. That's like the boomer mindset, and they just haven't evolved. Like, it's just like, dude, go sit outside of any public school and just watch how just depressed, how just blah. There's no life in these kids. And like, here I am. My kids are just thriving because they're not getting bullied. They're not dealing with drama. They don't have to keep up with the Joneses because they don't have the brand new easy shoes, whatever the fuck they're calling them these days. Like, they don't, they're none of that, the noise and the distraction of what these kids should be learning in school, all of that's removed. You get to control that environment. And some people I've had back, like, oh, well, you're just going to control your kids your whole life. No, but if I have the ability to keep my kids as pure and is innocent for as long as possible without getting pulled into any bullshit in a public school system, why would you not want that for your children?
No,
Like, dude, I have an 11-year-old daughter. She still plays with toys, dude. She's got Barbies. Not that she's immature. She's one of the most mature children I've ever seen in my life as for her age. But she hasn't had that corruption yet where it's not cool. Oh, well, we're doing makeup now, or we don't play with dolls anymore. She's not having that fed to her. And so she has these other little homeschool friends, and they all meet up and they're all playing together, and how their mind is so creative still, and their imagination just goes wild because she's not learning on an iPad. She's not just stuck staring at some boring ass teacher all day learning about nothing. It's insane, man. It is, and I tell, if anybody is even remotely close to thinking about pulling their children out of school, do it now. I've never met I've posted videos that have hundreds of thousands of views, thousands of comments. I've never had anybody be like, we regretted it. We put our kids back in. Like, there was a worse decision. I've never seen it. Everybody, I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of teachers. Oh, if I could do it again, I would. My kids will never. I've been a teacher for 37 years in the public system. I would never put my kids in it.
wow.
So much of that shit. Like, if you go to any of because I had a teacher on the podcast,
Hmm.
and her son's actually my oldest daughter's grade. And I asked her, I'm like, if you could do it again, would you homeschool your kids? She's like 100%. And that sparked this thing. And then there's hundreds of teachers. Like, I would never, Mike, I'm a teacher. My kids will never, when they're of age, they'll never be in a public school. Yeah, it's the biggest regret that homeschool parents, the biggest regret I've seen homeschool parents say is they didn't do it soon enough.
That's crazy to think about teachers. Because if the teachers aren't believing in the system, like how the hell as parents should we have faith in the system? I don't have kids, but like in general, I'm talking generalized. Like, how do you have faith in a system that the teachers don't even have faith in? That's crazy to me.
100%, because it's just babysitting, man. They're babysitters, and they're teaching your kids just how to not be a fucking retard their whole entire life. Like, that's all it is. It's the bare minimum. And like, there's times, bro, we'll go like a week or two and we don't even do any school. We don't do fuck all, because we're on the road, we're traveling, we're busy, whatever. I don't have to worry about it because my kids are learning so many life skills. In that meantime, do we need to be sitting here worrying about Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue? Like, cool. There's times where we'll go a week or two without, but we'll catch back up. But then they're doing school all summer. We don't really have like an off season for us because my kids are all graduating early. So it's like, hey, here's your curriculum. You have to this date to get this chapters done. Fuck, get it all done in the next month. Then you can screw off for however long you want till the next one comes, or just knock it out at your pace as fast as you want. And that's what they do. They're like, hey, I'm good. Like, if they start getting behind, cool. You get on their ass, they're get caught back up. They do it at their own pace. My kids do 2 hours of school a day and they're done. That's it. Two
Crazy.
hours.
Do you think that there's so much government oversight in the school system, and that's the problem?
Oh, 100%, bro. It's all run. It's disgusting of how these schools, one, are funded, how the teachers are funded, what the curriculum is. Like, my wife, when we pulled our oldest, when we first pulled him, my wife had to like completely rewire our oldest on math because of how they're teaching these kids now with this common core bullshit. Nothing would make sense. So my wife like went back old school. Was like, nope, this is how we're doing it. And once she rewired her brain, which took, a couple of months to really teach her how to completely do math in the old school way, then it just clicked. My daughter's like, why don't they teach us this in school? We're like, that's a great question. Like, why are we learning binomials and all this bullshit? Like, why are we focused on this? But you're teaching kids all of these fucking, what are we just learning? I think was it binomials? There was something so stupid with math. But I'm like, we're teaching these kids binomials, but you can't balance a checkbook. You're teaching finances as a teacher, but you're making $40,000 a year and you've never owned a business. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you're a historian teaching bullshit because history's all a lie. If you really want to break down the truth about most of the wars and everything that's happened, we could go down that rabbit hole. So it's like everything's an agenda. Everything was built by the Rockefeller family to create factory workers. Like, this is
Yep.
all legit shit. Like, there's no, like, this isn't a conspiracy. This isn't Bam just rambling on. Like, when you really start digging into the shit and why the school system was created, why it looks just like a prison where these kids are sitting in rows raise their hand to go to the bathroom, got to get permission to do anything. A bell releases you from your workstation to be able to go into the hallway for 5 minutes and get to the next station. Like, it's so much when you start thinking about this. You're like, Jesus, dude, I'm just creating a little factory work or just go to work on the assembly line. That's all this is. And like how classrooms haven't evolved ever. Like, why are we still teaching kids the exact same? Everything is evolving in the world right now with technology and everything. And you mean to tell me we're still sitting kids in these rows, learning a subject, boring as fuck, curriculum hasn't changed, nobody's engaged, everyone's checked out, these kids are scrolling on their phone, they're all just screwing off all day, vaping in the bathrooms. Like, that's better option for your kids than pulling them out.
Right. My sister sends my niece to it's a Montessori learning style. So it's
Okay.
like it's like you have like a quad, like four kids sit together, super smaller classrooms. I think there's a teacher and there's like 12 or 16 kids in a classroom, and then you kind of learn at your own pace. Like, these are the things you need to accomplish today. You figure out how you're going to do it, and then you don't have like bells and all the like the like whatever that all is. And I know people think it's a conspiracy, but if you look back on the education system, that's exactly what it was. It was designed to create obedient factory workers, like from day one. Like, so like it's insane to me that, again, that we haven't evolved in I don't know. Like, I think that's why some other countries are outpacing us on intelligence and other things. Is just because
100%.
we're still
100%.
stuck in the 60s and 70s, or if not before that.
Dude, like I was saying, you pulled your kids out of school and just brought them through life with you and showed them everything, and just taught them how to read and write. They will be so much farther ahead of any public school kid with very, very bare minimum work of life schooling your children. They will excel past a public school kid all day. But then if you're intentional about it and everything is thought out and like, okay, cool, this is a lesson. And I tell people all the time, it's like, if you want a really cool dog, and you always see those dogs that are just like right on the roof of a truck, hanging out the the go everywhere. The guy's at the bar, his dog sits in the back of the truck for 6 hours, whatever it is. You always, those cool dogs. It's because you take that dog everywhere with you. And that dog, its life just becomes part of being on a road, being a hunting dog, a working dog, whatever it may be. It's the same with kids. You just expose your kids to everything. It just becomes life for them. And it's not weird to have a conversation with adults or to answer questions or look somebody in their eye, to introduce themselves. It just becomes life. And so it's fascinating. And you don't need to just strictly homeschool. There are really cool programs like co-ops that are like 2 or 3 days a week where they bring in, different teachers to be able to teach different subjects, and they're going to farms and they get to go experience all this cool stuff. There's a lot of cool programs for the people that can't just strictly homeschool their kids 24/7 like we do. I get it. We made major sacrifices and it's not easy to do. Like, we're very blessed to be able to do it, but there's a lot of options, and whatever option you can figure out as a parent, fucking do it for the love of God. You'll watch your kids evolve into the most incredible humans. Dude, the drama, like the depression. My daughter, she's dealing with all these teenagers and all her friends, and they're all like, half of them have suicidal thoughts and tendencies. She comes and she's like, she goes, I can't relate to these kids, Dad. She goes, I don't have their problems. I'm not getting bullied. I'm not getting harassed. I don't have boys making pictures about me and AIing shit and sending them all. She goes, I don't know how to relate to these girls. And she's like, it's so sad watching them, and how the cattiness and the cannibalisticness of these kids. And they all just trash each other and talk shit. And my daughter's like, yeah, cool. I'm like, I don't have to deal with any of that. And it's like, why would you not want that for your child? It blows my mind. Like, I got buddies and their wives are stay-at-home wives, and they send their kids to school every day. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Like, why are you sending your kids off to get taught by the government? Do you trust the government? No, fuck that. No, I don't. Then why are you letting the government raise your kids?
Yeah.
That's the biggest
Yeah.
question. Why are you letting the government raise your kids? What is it when you send your kids off to Caesar? Don't be shocked when they come back as Romans. Like,
Yeah.
they're being indoctrinated, and then all the bullshit, and they're dealing with furries and this transgender bullshit. Like, my kids aren't dealing with any of that. They're not having to look at transgender flags and all this ideology or this logic that they're shoving down these kids, and like, it's okay to be something that you think you are. Fuck that. It is. You're a beautiful young little girl. This is who you are, and this is what we're going to grow up to be. Like, that's because that's how we're raising our children.
For me anyways, like school, when I came into law enforcement, I had a real hard time talking to people that were older than me, and it's all because I was super introverted and not knocking my parents or anything, but it was always like adults. What was it? It was you don't speak to adults unless you're spoken to, kind of. That was like, and that was in schools and everything. So like
Yup.
me, and now I'm like, all right, I'm super introverted and try to get me out of that shell. It took me like 5 years as a cop. Like I'm going to talk to these 50-year-old people that double my age about how to be a husband and wife combination, and I'm not married and I'm 25 years old. I still
Yeah.
live at home. Like I can't relate to this. And I think what you're showing is like your kids they'll talk to anyone about anything. And I think at minimum, like communication
Anything.
is the biggest thing that we need as humans to be successful. And your
Yep.
kids have no fear of that, which is amazing.
They don't know any different.
Right. That's
They
cool.
don't know any different. Like, hey, we're gonna go work this show. And it takes coaching and it takes showing them like, hey, try this and at this time, or hey, try this approach, or hey, hey, that's you're doing really good at this. Love it, keep going. And then they develop their own little pitch. And and it helped a lot with us also having a charity because we have big fundraisers and like, hey kid, dude, she's 7 years old. Hey, here's a roll of raffle tickets. Go sell these things. And she's like, I don't know how to sell. What if people say no? Then they say no. Okay. And then she goes, like, Dad, I sold 6. How many people said no? A lot. Okay. How's that? Well, I don't care. I sold 6. Oh, perfect. That's what you need to focus on. And it's those types of lessons though. It's like, yeah, people are going to say no to you and it's perfectly fine. Hey, would you like to try a sample of our bread? I'm good. You get the old Karens that are just like, no, thanks. And it's like now it's a joke. So my kid will make extra loaves. Like we call them mini bees, or like this little like half a loaf. We'll make a bunch of extra ones, and I'm like, hey, let's go door knocking, and we'll ride our little bikes. And I got a little cart with, and we fill it full of bags of bread. And we hand out free samples in the neighborhoods. And at first she's like, well, what if they say no? I'm like, then we go to the next house. Let them say no. Like, who cares? Right? Like, what's the problem? Now she's like, she'll go to any door, I guarantee you, when she's old enough to be a salesman, she can go in door to door and sell solar, bug extermination, whatever it was. And then be from this and what it evolved into. Now she's like, Dad, like this fall, Dad, I'm gonna start a rake company, I want to rake leaves for this fall. I'm like, let's do it. She gets online, builds a little flyer. We helped her correct some little things on it. She prints off a flyer. Dude, she goes door to door and just hands out flyers. Then she's got people. This is the second year doing it, actually. Now she's got people from the previous year call, hey, where's the little rake girl? I got a yard full of it. And now this little kid's making freaking couple $100 a day raking people's yards.
That's
All
amazing. That's
from
cool.
just getting over the fear, being forced into talking, getting out of their shell, and just developing these skills because they're not sitting in a classroom told to shut up, wait for a bell, raise your hands. They're able to talk, to think, to be able to have their mind just work how it's created to do. And so it's it, dude. I'll go on for days about homeschooling, man. It's been the greatest thing we've ever done as a family. It's incredible.
That's awesome, man. With your podcast,
Yeah.
when you started it, what was the not to change gears? I mean, but
No, you're good. Yeah, I'll talk for
with the
days.
podcast,
Trust me.
with the podcast, where when you started it, what was your ultimate goal, and kind of where do you see it going?
Honestly, I just want to have conversations with people. I meet so many interesting people throughout my travels, through my organization, just working with companies and stuff like that. I always meet crazy people with the craziest stories. And so that's when my buddy was like, yo, dude, just bring people here. I'll do I'll run the whole entire podcast. I'll do all the editing. I'll do everything. Just bring the guests. You have the craziest people. I'm like, all right, cool. So that's kind of what just started, man. It's just sitting down and giving somebody an opportunity to have a platform to be able to share their voice. And if it's a cop that got screwed over by the department, if it's some teacher that got fired for helping kids on the side, all the way to some mom that found out her freaking ex was doing crazy shit, like it doesn't matter what it is. And so starting the podcast, like I have buddies that have very successful podcasts. They've been around 5-6 years, and here I am, haven't even launched an episode yet. I'm like, man, what do I need to do? And they're like, you need to find a niche. You need to find a niche. You got to buckle down. And I was like, fuck that. Like, I don't want a niche. Like, then I got to talk to the same people every single time. Like, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like Joe Rogan doesn't have his niche is not having a niche, and I gave it a lot of thought. It was actually like hung me up for a little bit because I'm like, God, like all these incredible podcasts, dude, they're all niche based. Like that's it helps when it's the same thing with like social media. If I'm gonna post a picture of a fucking piece of bread every day. Like you're gonna grow because you're just doing the same thing every day and you're gonna gain from it. And so that was really hard for me at first. I was like, man, I don't want a niche. I want to give anybody, I want the person down the street, this old crusty war vet. I want him to have a conversation. I want to have a conversation with him. Then I want to have a conversation with, a gardener that's been running his own business for 30 years and he's grown it to this multi-$100 million business now. Like, so that was where, and then I was like, you know what, fuck it. We'll fall into our niche is what my mindset was. I was like, we'll figure out our niche as this goes. We haven't found one, man. It's just anybody and everybody. It's just,
What?
it's working. So
Yeah, I was like with your background, like military, the nonprofit, the entrepreneur, like you can encompass a ton of people that you can relate to just based on everything that you've done in your life that you're currently doing. So I don't think that you necessarily need a specific niche to follow. I think that you have enough knowledge about so much stuff that you could have a conversation with anyone about anything.
And it's funny you say that because we just had this conversation not too long ago. I had it with my daughter because my oldest is the producer, so she sits in every conversation. So it's fascinating to be able to talk to like a 17-year-old about some of these life experiences that she gets to hear. And she's like, Dad, like, where do you think? She's like, you can talk to anybody about anything. She's like, where do you think it came from? And I was like, honestly, I've had 12 years of, you got to think about it. Like, I take these vets out, and some of them are just bleh, of human beings. And I mean that in a respectful way. It's just very melancholy, very just no personality. But now I'm stuck with this dude in the backcountry for 5 days. And this guy has got the fucking personality of a wet paper bag. And I'm like, oh God, it's gonna be rough. So I've had to learn over the years, like almost chip away at these people to get them to open up, to be able to
Yeah.
tell me about themselves, to be able, who are you? Where are you from, man? You got wife, you got kids, how old? Like how long you been married? Just those types of questions. And I've been honestly training for this without knowing for the last 12 years because like I can literally have a conversation with anybody about anything just due to having a cop, like being able to relate to a cop. I take a cop into the backcountry. Like I'm not a cop. I'll be honest. Like cops for me, I'm not the biggest fan of cops for the longest time, just because my
Perfect.
fault. My fault. I get a lot of tickets. I run from the cops like a lot. Like I was a menace on a motorcycle for a long time. But it's like so I don't have like this yo, what's up, bro? You're a cop deal. And so then it's like now I'm in the backcountry with like 5 cops, and I'm like, all right, boys, like we get to talk about like learning like what these guys are into. Then I get to like, man, these guys are just humans, man. They just want to be heard. They're going through the same shit. They're struggling just like we are. They're a man. They got all the same stresses and problems and the weight of the world on their shoulder. Okay, cool. I can relate to this guy like this. And so that's what's really helped me be able to sit down. There's some conversations that are hard for me, like when it comes to women going through very traumatic things. That's hard for me, but I find myself putting myself like either in my wife's shoes or my daughter's shoes. Like if my daughter was going through this. And so that's how I could come up with like a lot of questions and just legitimate, like organic questions because I'm like, fuck, like, well, how does this work? Because I want to know from my knowledge as like a girl dad, like, okay, if this woman went through this traumatic experience, how did you find yourself in this situation? How could you get out of this? What would you have done different? Because I want to know this stuff because I got a daughter that's listening and so for some crazy reason, we actually have a very large female demographic for the podcast. I think it's obviously because I have some pretty awesome female guests, but I get so much incredible feedback from these women from the questions that I ask, and some of them are like, "You should ask better questions." I'm like, "Well, I'm a fucking dude. Like, I'm no." It's crazy, like when people think like just because you have a platform, you're some expert, and I like you. I,
I just wing it.
I don't get it too often, but like you need to be asking things differently. This is so unprofessional. I'm like, I'm just a dude having a conversation with somebody. Like that's all this is. And you were putting me on a pedestal, thinking I'm some professional psychologist having a conversation, breaking down this person's whole entire life and their traumas. Like, I'm just a fucking guy that just has a conversation with people and people follow. Like that's it. Like people put you on these pedestals and build you into this image what it is. But I have to like remind them, like, yeah, I'm no different than anybody else. I'm just sitting in here in my upstairs of my house having a conversation with somebody I just met 20 minutes ago. Like that's all this comes down to. But yeah, man, it's been fascinating to be able to just hear people's stories and what they've gone through and overcome. And it's I love it, man. Like I never thought I'd be a podcaster. I never thought I'd be doing this. Talked about it for a long time, but now that the ball's rolling, it's awesome. Like I hope I get to do this for a really long time because I really enjoy it. And then now we're getting to that point to where like we're official, where people are like, oh, you got numbers now. And so now we're getting like the bigger name people are reaching out like, yo, I'd love to come on. And I'm like, yeah, I messaged you last year and you didn't even fucking respond to me. So I don't need you now because I got 200 people on my list that are just your everyday American that just wants to share a story. And so yeah, that's where we're gonna take it. I think that's the future, is just giving people the platform. I don't think much is gonna change. Um, I think we might break off some series. I'm gonna do kind of some series on individuals that are like multi-part episodes. We might start doing that. But other than that, man, we're just gonna keep sitting down and have a conversation with cool people.
You ever considered doing a podcast with your oldest daughter?
She's gonna be episode 100.
That's awesome. That's cool. I
Yeah.
was just thinking of it. I was like, man, that'd be cool just to sit
Yeah.
there and watch that dynamic.
Yeah, I'm gonna because I got a lot of people. It's the podcast people are fascinating. Like I'm not a podcaster. I don't listen to podcasts. I try, like I'll do it if I'm hunting or if I'm driving or stuck somewhere and I can find like a cool one. I'll listen to them occasionally. I'm more of an audiobook music dude. But so it's weird for me because I'm not a podcaster, and like there'll be episodes that we'll go to air and I'm like, God, dude, this one was a rough one. Just you know how it is. Some guests can talk, some are storytellers, and some you're like pulling
Yeah.
everything from them. And I'm like, oh fuck, dude, that was a tough one. And I'm like, well, it's just content, we'll just throw it out, you know. And then they'll rip. Like, greatest podcast you've done yet. And my daughter and I are looking at you like, what the fuck? Like, this was rough. You know, that was a rough one. But people just don't know but people are invested in like the podcast. They're invested in you. They're invested in your guests. And they love like the different stories. And that's what I always have to remind myself. Like, it's not what I think is going to go great, or because there's been so many episodes where a guest has left the house. I close the door and look at my daughter. I'm like, that's going fucking viral. And then it do nothing, crickets. And then we'll have a guest leave. And I'm like, oh fuck, like I don't know if we're gonna air that one, and we'll air it and it goes viral. We're like, holy shit, like you never know. You just never know what is gonna do it, how it's gonna react. And so yeah, we just sit down and let them rip, and I don't go into like crazy in-depth details with the guest beforehand because honestly the hardest episodes for me are people that I know, like my friends. Those are my hardest interviews because I already know everything about my boys. Like, so I'm like, oh, tell me, but wow, crazy, you know, like I always feel so awkward. But then I have some random ass dude show up and he's like, I'm like, let's go have a conversation. And I'm like, holy fuck, like blown away by these people because I'm finding things out as we go. And so I think that's what's really helped us grow. And as far as our audience, what they are, what they like the most is just the organic conversations. I get it a lot because there's a lot of big podcasters out there right now that just sit down, they got a list of questions, they just ask questions, they make their clips, and that's it. And so I want to be able to tell people stories. And I've had some guests that are big podcasters, as in doing other people's podcasts, like they're like professional guests for podcasts. And I've had several of them come on. They're like, dude, this is I've never been able to tell my story. Like everybody's just, they go through the questions, they have their agenda, and then that's it. Like they're like, I've never been able to just talk about who I am. So we've actually had some really cool feedback of like professional podcast guesters that are like, dude, I've never had the opportunity to just tell my story.
Yeah, I think seeing the organic conversation is huge for me. Like when I reach out to people or I have people reach out to me, I try not to dive in too much into them. Like I want to know a little bit just so like like some background, but beyond that, like I don't want to know the whole story. Like I don't want to, because I think having that organic conversation, having that real reaction is something that people want. Like if I already know what you're going to tell me, like you're going to see like, oh, okay, you told me that, like, and just move on to the next fucking topic. And there's not going to be this real conversation. I just think that people want to see that real conversation. They don't want to see this like scripted nonsense that some people put out.
Oh, for sure. Like TJ Webb. I don't know if you know TJ Webb. He got shot 6 times, U.S.
I've
Marshal.
talked to him a few times, yeah.
Dude, TJ's a homie, right? And so didn't even know him. He's like, hey, I got shot 6 times, took one in the face. Like, if you want to do a podcast, I'm like, fuck yeah. So he comes out and we go and get like cigars the night before. And he's like, yeah. So then I'm like, we're doing this search word. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I don't even want to know. Like, no, don't say anything. I don't want to know. And he's like, oh, all right. Like, that's the hardest part for me because I try to get my guest in like the afternoon. So then that night we'll do dinner and we'll go out like cigars or whatever, and then get to just to loosen up. Then the next day we do the episode. And they always like, yeah. So then I was in this room and I'm clearing. I'm like, no. Like but it's so hard for me and who I am. I'm like, yeah. Tell me more. Like I want to know the story, but I have to stop them because I want that initial reaction because
Yeah.
I think that's what also helps feed, social media. People see that they're like, holy fuck. Like my buddy, like a perfect example. He got beat up by a group of Down syndrome dudes, and I've known this
I
guy.
watched that so many times and I've laughed and I feel awful laughing, but I laugh every time I see a reel.
It's the greatest story ever told. And I've known this dude for 10, 12 years and we hunt together, we guide together. Like I help him out. He's one of my best friends. He's tried to tell me a story for like 8, 9 years. And I'm like, dude, no, save it for the right time. Like, I don't want to hear it. And then once we start talking about podcasts, I'm like, dude, we're going to save it for a podcast, save it for podcasts. And so like, finally now we're doing a podcast. He's like, bro, can I finally tell you this story when I got beat up by this group of Down syndrome? And I'm like, yeah. And he comes on. So like, I'm dying laughing. Like I'm pissing my pants. I can't even breathe him telling the story, but it would not have been that if I already would have known this. And I
Yeah,
think
that's
like
true.
that helps make everything is like, I'm just wheezing, crying, laughing the whole entire time as he's dying laughing because it's the first time I'm hearing it. And so, yeah, I think that's what helps make a really good episode is not knowing like the whole in-depth, every single detail. Like I want to figure that stuff out. And sometimes it helps. Like there's also times where it kind of screws me where I feel like I should ask better questions because I don't, I'll afterward, I'm like, oh man, like shit, I should have asked. I do that every episode, but it is what it is. I'd rather, maybe forget a couple questions, and have an organic conversation rather than have everything scripted. And I'm not knocking like Sean Ryan or anything, but like, he just sits there and like, well, tell me about that. And it's like, you know, I don't know. That's just interviewing. I want to have a conversation. I don't want to interview people. I want to have like a legit conversation and get to know them by genuine questions.
Yeah, same here. I'm very similar to that. I have this little notepad that I like when you say something. If I kind of reach away and I just like write like 3 notes. So I want to come back and ask that question. So I don't.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
there's something that comes up and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to ask that. At least I have like scribbles that I can kind of read them and what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing that really saves me sometimes. But there's a lot of times I'll be done. I'm like, damn it, I should have asked that question. Or they'll go on another podcast and tell. I'm like, fuck, I should have asked that. Like, why? Like, why didn't I think
Yeah.
to go there with this conversation? It is what it is.
I'm the same way.
Is there any specific guests that you want to have on your podcast or anything along those lines?
Oh, well, my daughter. I had a list of guys. I had a list for a bit, but honestly, like, no, I don't. I'm open for anybody. There's a couple people out there that I find fascinating. I want my buddy on. I got a good buddy. He's a big influence. He's mega on social. I'd like to get him on. He's out of Vegas, but he doesn't really travel much. But yeah, no, dude. I mean, like I had this whole like dream list, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have this politicians on and celebrities on. And I'm like, dude, fuck all those people. I don't need them. Like I have some construction worker down the street come on and tell one of the greatest episodes ever, and I'm like, I don't need the celebrities. And at the same time, it's like I don't want to piggyback off other people. That's just me personally. Like I don't want to have to like ride other famous people's coattails to grow, just to get to that status. I would rather give the blue collar worker an opportunity, or the CEO, the correctional officer that nobody even knows this guy exists, but he's got these wildest stories you've ever heard from working in a prison for his whole entire life. Like that's what I'm chasing. Like that, I want to give those people opportunity. I want to give the mom that walked away from a whole entire career and built $100 million company in her garage, right? Like that's that's excuse me, that's where I get the joy from, But when I first started, I was like, oh, I got a whole dream list. I'm gonna have JD Vance and blah blah blah, like all these people. Now I'm like, fuck all these politicians. I don't want to talk to any of them because I'm gonna ask them some legit questions if I ever get an opportunity.
They'll
But
just get up
yeah,
and walk
no.
out. They
What's
wouldn't
up?
answer. They would just get up and walk out if you asked some
Oh,
hard question. But we're done. Um,
hundred
I,
percent.
I did listen to the dude that was the corrections officer in Casper, Wyoming.
Yeah. Yep.
That got his house like
Broke it
Bad
into
guys
you.
came. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I have a buddy that works up in Casper, and he's been in multiple officer-involved shootings. And I said, "Hey, do you know this dude?" He's like, "Yeah, I was fucking there. I was the first dude on the scene." So it was a small world, and
No
he's like,
shit.
Yeah." He's like, "I remember." He's like, "I remember like it was yesterday." He's like, "We were literally like hunting these dudes, like everyone at the police department, because he spoke highly of the police department." He's like, "Yeah, we were 2 days. Like we were gonna find these dudes. Like they
Yeah.
were not getting away with this."
You know
So
what's
I thought it was
crazy?
cool.
What's crazy about him is like, because I've had a lot of cops on, and most of the cops are like, I want to say like they're kind of like been done dirty by the department.
I see that.
So there's not a lot of like positive cop
Mhm.
episodes, I say, in a way. Like they'll come on and tell their stories, but then like it always goes to the admin, right? Like that's just, and then you have one guy and that goes viral. Then you have all these other people like, I want to share my story. So I think that's kind of where you get in your little grooves of things. But having him on was really cool because it showed like a whole different side of it where he wasn't let down by the admin. Like the department stood up and like, dude, it was like a full on manhunt, and they blocked barricaded his house at night. Like they took care of him. So which is really cool. I just post. I don't even know if I posted it yet. I might not have. I just had a cop reach out from the Georgia State Police, and he's like, "Hey, we just listened to your episode of Alex Wolf, which is who you're talking about." And he's like, "Hey, we listened to your episode. We'd like to offer him a job."
Oh, that's amazing. That's
We're like
badass.
I saw that he's said he would love to be a cop. We would love to offer him an opportunity to come out if he's willing to move across country. We'd give him an opportunity here in Georgia. I was like, dude, like that's the cool shit about doing a podcast and having guests on, like the connections that happen, and other guests are connecting and meeting afterward, and it's been really cool, man. I never thought like so much would come from having conversations with people and just putting it on the internet. It's really helped out a lot of people. I mean, dude, it almost turns into therapy sessions sometimes with some of the cops and or military that I have on. It turns into like a legit therapy session. Like I've had so many dudes lose it on our show. I've lost it on our show crying, but it's just like because they're real. It's a raw conversation,
Yeah.
and that's what I like about it. Is because I ask. So there's some questions sometimes that are probably not the best, like what's the worst day you've ever had on the force or whatever. And I know not everybody likes to relive it, but it is what it is. But at the same time, like if civilians, I feel, and I get some flack sometimes when I ask like paramedics and first responders, like what was the worst call you've ever been on? I personally like asking those questions because it shows the civilians what our law enforcement and first responders go through on the day to day, because we just don't see it, we don't hear about it. We're not in it. We're not in the trenches like all of you guys are. And so I ask those questions, and it's kind of like, I guess it's comparing like, have you ever killed anybody, like in like asking a veteran that shit. So, but at the same time, it's like, man, if this guy's talking about a car wreck and people didn't have the kid strapped into the car seat and then got ejected, it's like maybe somebody hears that and like, oh shit, like okay, yeah, like maybe I'm not gonna just put my kid in the back seat and not put a seatbelt on him and let him stand in the front seat, stuff like that. So I ask those types of questions. They might not always be the most tactful questions, but I think a lot of people need to hear the real rawness of what goes on inside of some of these jobs that the men and women are working.
No, I agree. And I think if people are coming on your podcast and they're first responders, they probably anticipate some type of question like that, just for the fact, like, I'm coming on here to tell you, like, what we have to go through. Yet I try to be as relatable to everyday citizens. So like,
Yep.
if I'm not willing to tell you that, I'm not going to come on your podcast. So I don't think that anyone that's looking at that should look at like, oh, you shouldn't ask a first responder that. I don't think that's the if he's coming on the pod, or she's coming on the podcast, I think that they're anticipating that that's already going to be a question that's asked.
And I'm like, oh, you must be new here, like, because I ask these types of questions. Like, this is a real conversation. Like, welcome to the
Right.
Wild Chaos Show. And I always tell all of our guests, like, hey, there's going to be some questions. If I ever ask anything and you're not cool with it, just tell me you don't want to answer it, and we'll remove it. So, yeah, they know ahead of time. But it's always the viewers that are like, you should never ask a firefighter these questions. And it's like, well, he should not have come on my show because I asked the questions.
and and what are you coming to talk about? If you and I'm not saying that it all has to be doom and gloom, but you have to give an
Yeah,
equal balance of like reality. So if you're not going
for
to
sure.
be willing to talk about that, then like, what are you doing here? Kind of in my mind.
Well, I just want somebody to like hear this cop telling a story about having to hold a dude as they cut him out of a tree that hung himself. Like, I want somebody to look at a cop after listening to that episode and be like, damn, dude, like, holy shit, I had no idea. Maybe it just puts a little bit more respect on the human. I'm not going to say the badge or the position, but like the human. Like, that's that's doing that job. That at the end of the day, that's a husband, that's a wife, that's a brother, that's a mother, whatever it is in that position. I want somebody to be able to take the badge away, take the position, whatever anybody feels about law enforcement. Like, look at that person and be like, damn, dude, they had to put some kid in a body bag that was got hit on an e-bike in an intersection, right? Like,
Yep.
I want the people listening to realize, like, holy shit, they are human. They are like us. I know we've demonized law enforcement, and it's all everyone, all the fuck 12 and cops this and whatever. It's like, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna have our bad apples, and there's a lot of shitty people in every job on the planet. But like, let's look at him as a human. Like that dude has a family he's going home to. He's dealing with the worst of the worst every single day, all day on his shift. That's what we need to be looking at, and that's why I ask those questions, because I want people to hear it and be like, oh my god, like, because I hear these stories, I hear vets, and we'll be on. I mean, dude, I did 2 deployments to Iraq. I contracted in Afghan, and I'm on these trips with veterans, and they're telling me stories, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I had a guy who's like, yeah, my whole unit got killed. I'm the only survivor. I'm like, what the fuck? Like holy shit, And I'm like, dude, like, like where do you go from there? And so like
Yeah.
I mean, years ago, I do this for a living, and I'm hearing this like blown away. I'm like, oh my god, man, like I'm so sorry. So that to me is like what a big thing that I just want to be able to give people a voice, and that's what it comes down to. Wild Chaos is going to be a platform that gives people a voice to be able to whistleblow, tell their stories, how they got screwed over, whatever it is. They want to come on and being a 10-year drug heroin addict living on the streets, and now you're cleaned up and want to tell your story. Cool. Fucking let's do it.
That's awesome, and I know that it's not intentional, but there is some amazing police departments out there, and with a great administration. I know that it's not glorified, but it's like the bad apple always gets seen. You know what I'm saying? So like there's based on my experience, like I had always been the same agency. My first 6 years, I had 6 different chiefs, but
Damn.
throughout that, there was nothing that it was directed at like the cops working or anything like that. Just a lot of like turmoil at the upper head, but it never came down. It was like whatever's going on upstairs, like it stayed upstairs, and us guys working and girls working, we never felt that pressure. And so like you find a department that has a good camaraderie and like structure within. Like our last chief from those, like it was like our fifth chief. We had a vote of no confidence, and it was literally everyone that was outside the admin sat in a room in front of the mayor, and we said no, like he's the worst chief. He got removed, and we never saw him again. So like, there's good departments, and it starts, and everyone's like, oh, it starts with admin. It doesn't, man. It starts within, and there's good departments out there, and there's a lot of them that have that same type of mentality. Like, no matter what happens upstairs, we're still going to be solid here. We stick together. We do the job for the right reason. It doesn't matter who the top is, and move forward. And if shit hits the fan, we know that 50 guys are going to have the back of 50 guys, and the 10 upstairs will end up reaping the negative consequences of that.
Yeah.
But I just wanted, because I know that you explained it, like one guy comes on and bitches, like you're gonna have more guys that want to come on and bitch about it. But I think as a profession as a whole, you have more good departments than not.
And I hope to God, and I hope that is the reality. I don't want to say it sucks for me, but like I put out, I had one video go viral of a cop talking about how his admin just fucked him over so bad and how it was so corrupt. And dude, I had like probably 80 to 100 cops fill out the application like, my department's corrupt, my chief is banging this person, or our captain's having an affair with official city council members. Like, so then now I got all these guys that are just like, oh, this video went viral, like, I want to tell my story. And so it's like, and I'm like, holy shit, like this is crazy, because I'm not law enforcement, but I'm hearing all this like, oh, our captain lets these guys run drugs through town. I got proof of it. I want to whistleblow. And I'm sitting here like, I'm reading it with my wife, like, what the fuck? We're gonna be like the leading podcast on just outing captains and chiefs on police departments, and like I don't even know what's going on. But then I have a guy like Drew Romo. He was a cop, got fired. He went viral. He lost his job as a cop by getting a drunk in public. Viral video. It's you were a disgrace, California cop. That's the title of his. He was drunk. He was in.
After party or something.
He was at a bachelor party in Phoenix, gets drunk. He's like, I'm a cop, I'm one of you. Like, what the fuck's going on? He completely blacked out. loses his job, loses everything. Rightfully so. He was 30 days away from being off probation, so
Ooh.
he doesn't like, it's such an incredible episode. And then 5 years later, he gets the calling and he feels that he needs to become a cop again to be able to help and talk like the word of God and be able to preach to people, but now from a different point of view. And dude, so hearing how his admin and like the chief and everything went to bat for him because he was straight up like, hey, this is who I was. That's what I'm my past, changed my life around. Like that admin stood up and fought for him to get him hired onto the new department. And
Oh, that's
so like
cool.
to hear that this chief is like going to bat for him because they see who he is. He was working at the church and just it is one of the most incredible stories. But like to hear how awesome the department was to have his back to like want to hire him on. And dude, they put him on this special unit now and like he works at these high schools. So now he's able to like bond with 1,700 high schoolers every day and talk the word of God when they have questions. And like it's just incredible. And so but to be able to see how the department brought him back on and not the department that fired him. They he burned that bridge. But this new department and they stood up for him and they gave him an opportunity and he's crushing life and he started his whole life back over again. And yeah, it's but that's cool to see like these guys stand up for him.
Yeah, no, I think society in general loves redemption stories too, and especially something like that where you can look back and it sucks that you get to see it now. Like he gets to relive that video all the time, but I know what I did wrong. I can see what I did wrong, and I'm going to move on and do better. And it took him 5 years, but he was able to accomplish, I guess, his goals. That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, it's cool to see.
We usually try to keep these about an hour, and we're in an hour and
Oh
46
shit, my
minutes.
bad.
That's all good. Like it was
I'm
a
a
good,
long
easy
format,
conversation.
dude, man.
No,
That's why all
no,
my
dude.
episodes go like 4 hours. So
Yeah, no, if me and the wife didn't have dinner plans, I'd probably hang out a little bit longer and talk to
yeah.
you. But
All good.
is there anything that you want to add? We always end the podcast with one question if you got nothing else.
No, man.
All right. Awesome. So we
Oh,
teach for
good.
a company called Justice Academy. What is your definition of justice?
Ooh, that's a great question. I want to say fairness. Justice to me is fair. I don't know why that comes to my head. I fuck that's a good question. I think just is fair for me. Like if it, no matter the situation, the circumstances, as long as everything is just to me, it would be fair.
I like it.
What about you? What's yours?
My definition of justice is something, so it goes both ends. Like if you do something good, you should be awarded for those accomplishments. If you do something bad, and I might not, as an individual, disagree with what you did as bad, but if society says it's bad, then you have to pay your justice to society.
Yeah. So like if you did something like a crime, I find it fair that you have
Yeah.
to you have to now reap the rewards of doing something horrible. But if you do something great and it's just and you get rewarded for it, and it's fair. Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. But I feel like I guess you got to get dinner. I'm going home.
No, you're good, man. Go. No, let's go. I want to hear
But
this.
okay, so as a law enforcement officer, how do you feel that our judicial system is just?
I feel that the lady of justice should always be blind, right? And I
Right.
feel that for some reason, in certain courts or certain legislators, for whatever reason, we've started to lift the veil, and that's a very slippery slope that we shouldn't be doing. It should be, in the grand scheme of things, like if you have the judge that sat behind a bench and didn't know anything about the situation, I think that's something that would probably make it a little bit more fair. Or the jury, like you don't have to, you know what I'm saying? Like where you don't have to look at the victim, you don't have to look at the suspects or anything like that. You have to be able to be completely impartial, and removing your emotions and feelings about a situation makes it more impartial. Once you start to have connections or relationships to even the victim or the suspect, can you? It would be hard for me in that situation to, if I knew the victim, knew the suspect, and had started to develop a relationship, it would be hard for me to give an impartial decision at that point.
Yeah, I agree with you on that because if you took a woman that's crying and she's doing the whole, and then her attorneys are doing the whole sob story and they're playing the full victim card against some dad, and now the jury is voting off of because they feel horrible for this woman. That's not just. I feel. I think I've always had that question of like how our judicial system should change, because like you hear these rapists, right? The like dude's a pedo has 100 and something accounts and gets knocked down to like 3 child pornography pictures and is charged for, like, how, right? Like, is that just, or should it just be, you don't know any, you're just hearing the case, you see all the evidence, there's
The
no,
facts. Yep.
it's just facts, right? And then you take out emotion. I think that's where emotion makes things unjust, is because
It could
we
be. Yeah, it
want
can be. It can be. I think emotional connection can, and it's not even intentional. Like, I don't feel like they're looking at it like, oh, they don't even realize that it's happening. You know what I mean? Like the judge doesn't realize it's happening. It's just like you have some type of connection to this person. Like me as a cop, like there's 2 crimes that I can't stand. It's like people that hurt women and kids. So you put
Yep.
me on a jury where that happens, and you start to play with my emotions there. Like, that guy could be innocent. I don't know if I could be impartial, because if you play well enough, like you act well enough, like I don't know if I could be impartial. I'm being completely honest.
100%, but that's because, if you got good attorneys, we're like, okay, we need to play this sympathy card. We got to go this angle because this is going to really let the jurors know that, hey, he was very into this, and oh yeah, I think that shit happens every day. But it's crazy. Yeah, that was a great question. I've never thought of that, but I would say fair. Like justice is fair for me if it all worked out right.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you joining me on the podcast. If you do end up moving to Kentucky, I'm only a few hours away. I'll have you up here and we'll do another one in person, because I could talk to you for hours, bro.
Let's do it, dude.
Awesome,
Thanks for
man.
having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.